Welcome, everybody,
What
back to
up?
Late Night Snacks. We are one half of your snack crew here with you for your weekly stand coverage. Even though it is Christmas Eve, we are here to cover the stand for you. So, Merry Christmas Eve to you all.
Here we are.
Or whatever you celebrate. Kwanzaa starts in a couple days. Hanukkah just ended, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So, I am Irish Melly. I will be one of your hosts along this creepy apocalyptic path, along with that guy.
That guy.
So, right now I'm going to go ahead and say this is episode 2. This was titled Pocket Savior. This is where we are introduced to Larry Underwood mainly. And just so you guys know, spoilers from this point out.
Yep, Debbie.
Oh, Tammy's here. Let's see.
Yes, this is a good.
Hey, Tammy. So yeah,
what's up, Debbie? What's up, Tammy?
Let's see, Debbie. She's trying to stay awake. So, let's address the elephant in the room. This is a CBS All Access series. Stephen King's The Stand 2020, which is involving Amber Heard, I guess is the nice way to say it. She does play the character of Nadine Cross. We were introduced to her character in this episode. We know the drama between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, so we know a lot of people don't like her. But I would like to announce, it was announced that she was officially fired from the Aquaman 2 movie.
Yes, so, win.
Right. And as we can see, that guy has for us in spirit, Mr. Depp himself. Well, it's Mr. Depp as
Johnny Depp. Free Johnny Depp.
Justice Grindelwald. For Johnny. Hashtag justice for Johnny.
Justice for Johnny. Johnny's the only Grindelwald. The only.
Okay, Tammy says a little better this episode. Still dislike the time stuff, but I read that that's going away after episode 3. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, because I know there is a lot of people.
I thought that might happen.
That's turning them off. And I want to mention real quick.
I thought they would have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I said before too, is that if we waited, it would probably balance out and they would get to just one time path. I think they're just doing it to introduce the main cast, our main characters. But I want to real quick say, it is also our coverage of our Christmas week, with tomorrow being Christmas and all. So I do have a special Christmas sweater for you guys tonight that I will show you at the end of the stream, because I know you can only see this much. So make sure that you guys stick around all the way till the end of the stream for the sweater of the night. And you guys will love my sweaters. We've already had some really good ones. If you haven't seen them, go back and watch the last couple videos, because there are some really good Christmas sweaters. And trust me, they're not your average ugly Christmas sweater. Okay. So, let's see what Tammy said. By the way, stayed up to watch you, then going to watch The Exorcist. I watch it every Christmas Eve. Oh, that's awesome. I love that some people have their holiday traditions of what they do every Christmas Eve, movie-wise. You know, everybody's got a different one, whether it's Die Hard, Christmas Vacation, you know, there's always something. Like with me, as silly as it sounds, every year with my kids, I watch Mickey's A Christmas Carol. Because as a kid, I watched that every Christmas Eve growing up. So, and then of course the classic
traditions. I don't know.
Snow Frosty. Okay. Here, yeah, justice for Johnny. Tammy said justice for Johnny.
Right. Justice for Johnny.
Yes. Hashtag justice for Johnny.
Hashtag fuck
And
Amber Heard.
I think next week we will get Tom and Nick. Interesting, because at the end, towards the end of this stream, we're going to do our predictions for next week. And that's what we'll do too. We'll predict who we think we're going to mostly be introduced to next week. I don't remember what we said for last week, but I think I know we said Nadine.
I do.
Was it Larry?
We did say Nadine. We did say Larry, but we also said there was going to be a flush out of Abigail, and that didn't happen. We didn't get any, hardly any Abigail, just the one scene.
We got her voice.
That still's got to come. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we need a big Abigail episode.
I'm with you. If I wasn't watching with my kids, I would definitely be indulging in something, horror-esque for sure for Christmas. Or my eldest daughter, her shout out to Savannah, her go-to movie is Nightmare Before Christmas. So
this is Halloween.
And let's see. Yeah, Tammy says, last week she guessed Nadine and Larry. Okay. Yep.
And that's it.
All right, so let's talk about this. We open up with our introduction to Larry. We see Larry, who I just want to say right off the bat, his mannerisms and everything, I thought this actor knows what he's doing. I really liked his Larry portrayal. What about you?
So, yes, I like that they use an African American. I like that they put that culture spin on it.
I did too.
In the book, he's just like a regular, like Bruce Springsteen type pop star. I believe is his original character. With the song, I like the new kind of update of how the song was released, and he was a club singer. I love the relationship between him and his mother. It's for what short time that was fleshed out really, really well.
It was. It made you feel for them, right?
They got the character down.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that they were able to simply introduce and simply convey the fact that Larry sees both visions, that he's called to by Flagg and that he's called to by Abigail. And I like how you already automatically get that torn aspect of Larry Underwood. So that was good.
Yeah. And Tammy agrees with us. Tammy agrees with Larry.
Yep. So, great actor.
Okay, so we'll get now to our very next introduction, main character wise, is Nadine Cross, who is played by Amber Heard. And I'm telling you, I was not looking forward to this. I was already in the back of my mind, I was already disgusted, knew I was going to hate it. But if you know the character of Nadine, you don't like Nadine anyway. And the thing I really liked about the miniseries was the actress. You even didn't like looking at her. She looked evil. She looked manipulative. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's why they kept the casting. It was probably too late at the point from where they'd already filmed to go back and reshoot.
Oh, yeah.
But I could also see, I know Tammy and Debbie were talking. Shout out to our girls. We're talking earlier and pointed out the fact that, and I know Dawn mentioned it too, the fact that at least with Amber Heard, since we know we don't like Nadine, it makes us just not like the character even more.
It took me out of it for a minute because there's so much anger around this whole thing. But you got to separate it because, contracts are contracts, unions are unions. She got paid for it. There's no way her agency was going to let her be removed from a film like that or, the miniseries. So you just got to we knew going in she was going to be there. I would have been shocked if I didn't know. But it still took me out. And not just because it was Amber. It took me out a bit because her portrayal, the way she was portraying her, especially by the subway scene and them going underground, she was almost cartoony. She was almost different than life. She was playing it really like possessed. It was weird. Her acting choices did not fit the acting choices.
Wait. Back up.
It was very strange.
I'm confused now. You said going underground. Are you talking about Rita?
When they went the sewers.
That wasn't Amber Heard's character. Amber
Oh
Heard
yeah, yeah. That's Rita, right?
right at the beginning
Rita,
with the little
Rita
boy.
went down. Yeah, yeah. No, not in the
Rita
sewers.
went
No,
into
I'm
the
thinking
sewer.
not in the sewers.
We're
No,
not we're not at Rita
correct,
yet. We're
correct.
just
No, I'm talking
introducing
about Amber Heard.
Nadine.
No, I'm talking about Amber Heard.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the whole her just not. I was just thinking of Larry in the sewers and the rats and everything. No, Amber
Yeah.
Heard, her character, her Nadine. She was the one playing really stoic, really robotic, almost cartoony.
Tammy brings up a good point. If they would have just switched Heather and Amber's roles, because Heather was amazing. I'm just gonna say, I know we'll get to Rita, but I
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really loved
Mm-hmm.
Rita as the character that she was, and the actress, Heather.
Yes.
They're just she did an amazing job. But we'll get there. But anyway, so
Too fun.
we're introduced to
Uh-huh.
Nadine. We see them in the opening when we see them in a supermarket or like a big superstore, like a Walmart or
Like Walmart or
something,
something. Yeah.
or maybe even a Costco or something, but it didn't look warehousey, so probably not. But we see them with lots of tents. There's like a community living in this store, and they're all traveling, we find out, because they say, we need to eat to have our energy and gather up our things to head out to Boulder. So we see that they're also heading
Correct.
to Boulder, Colorado. And as
So at this point, we know they've been called.
Right. Oh, and let's say we meet Joey. We meet little Joey as well. Joey's traveling. He's the little boy who I'm not going to give it away yet. But as of right now, he's not talking. He's not saying anything to anybody. He does,
No, not yet.
facial expressions. He nods, things like that. But he's not really verbal with anyone right now. But I'll tell you right off the bat, the first thing that made me not like Amber Heard, and I will tell you guys, this is coming from personal experience, as a lot of our regular viewers know I have a child with special needs myself. So it was more of a personal experience for me when I saw this happen. I took it as a personal attack, just like I went into mommy mode. When they're in the tent, and Larry starts to talk to Joey after he says something to Nadine, because little Joey's holding on to the guitar. And I think it's the first line, or no, one of the first lines we get from Amber Heard's Nadine character. She says, Joey, look at people. I told you to look at people when they talk to you, or something like that. But she was very stern, and it was very aggressive with him about, you better look at people. They're talking to you. And at the time, you don't know this isn't her child. You find that out, as we progress in this episode. But right then, you're right away going, I don't like this woman. You know what I mean? Just her attitude towards this little boy.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so they start driving in their caravan. There's a bunch of them. There's a caravan of cars, and we see them hit a roadblock. And this is something you'd see in The Walking Dead, where you'd be like, oh shit, they're about to get jacked. All their stuff is getting taken. Somebody's going to die. You know what I mean? But then we see Stu Redman sitting there on the pickup truck, welcoming them to the Boulder Free Zone. And he asked him if he thought he was Larry, or I'm sorry, he thought he was Harold. And then we don't know why he thinks he's Harold. We find out, when he meets Harold, why. But he explains to him that Mother Abigail wants him to, he's one of the chosen ones to run the facility. And he explains to Stu, I don't know why, I'm a complete, in his words, a fuck up. He said, I screw up everything that I do, everything I touch. And, then we kind of, I believe it's right after that is when we jump to 5 months earlier, right? Correct. Or was that before
his backstory? It was right there in the beginning. It was kind of intertwined, where we started to learn his backstory with the song and his mother and everything. It was intertwined with the whole.
We go back and forth a little bit, just while he's being introduced to Mother Abigail, and then when we're finding out Larry's story. Now, like we were mentioning, a lot of people are not thrilled with these time jumps and the way that they're doing them, but it's supposedly, as one of our lovely, lovely members has told us, that's supposed to change soon. But also, I'm kind of interested in it. I kind of like the way they're doing it because it gives us more time to be introduced individually to each character. A little bit more backstory.
Yeah, I'm fine with it because I know what's happening. So
Right.
I know Kaylee had let me know. She was like, well, she had some questions for this next episode.
See,
And
and she has
so
you to ask those too. Not
newbies
everyone
to it
does.
are, yeah, exactly. So some newbies are confused, but I'm sure everybody is. What I don't like about it is the fact that each character doesn't have a distinguishing look or something to put them in that time frame of whatever time frame it is. It's not like we're jumping back to one point. We're jumping back or forward to several different points, and the actors kind of look the
Yeah, because
same.
we just
So
know it's
you really
5
don't
months.
know what's going on. It's events. Yeah, it's events that are happening that like we know at a certain point, oh, they've already been called by Abigail, or we know that at some point, oh, that's right
Right,
post
because
the
they'll
virus
mention
coming out,
something
or
here or there.
that's all we know. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, that's how I can tell what's
Right.
happening. But if you don't know the story, if you don't know about Abigail calling them or Flag calling them or different time frames, then I can see where people are really confused. Really, really. And I said last week, I said this time jumping around is going to be problematic. And I guess it's turning out to be it is. So
Okay, so you actually really enjoyed her as Nadine, and that's from the 1994 miniseries of the same name, and that's interesting because for some reason that actress, I've never liked her. I've never liked Laura. I don't know why. Just something about her rubs me the wrong way.
mm.
Okay, so then we get to Larry's let's see. Tammy says she's still going to say she doesn't hate it. She said I still love the first one and always will. I don't think we will ever get the perfect remake. And I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. Nobody's ever going to be 100% satisfied. I don't think King himself, even if he did it, is going to be satisfied with the final ending because for those of you who don't know, The Stand is such an epic huge thing in the King universe of stories. Randall Flagg is a main character. He'll be back. Randall Flagg is a main character. There we go. That we see in
Here we go.
multiple
How's this?
episodes or works of Kings, mainly the Dark Tower series.
Yes. Very much
But
mainly
yeah,
Dr. House. This is
right. So we get
how's this?
it's better. I can see you a lot better.
Yeah. Great camera.
It's still about the same time delay, so we're good though.
Yeah, it's fine. We know it.
So in between these back and forths of Larry's, when we're learning about Larry's backstory, we learned that Larry was in a band. He was a musician. He was a rock star in all sense of the word, I guess, excess of the word, because we see him drugs, drink to excess throughout
Yep.
this whole episode.
Yep.
And if it's
his addictions,
snorting something, he's swallowing something,
his addictions are going to come into a big play for his character.
Yes.
Because that's
as
his
they do
vice.
for many of the characters, their vices, we'll say, because it's not always addictions, and it may be different kinds. So their vices will all come into play as we battle the good and evil.
Good and evil.
But yeah, we meet Rita. But before we meet Rita, okay, we see. Do you want to mention about the partner with the song? Because I know you said you liked how they actually differed that.
Yeah. Well, they did it in such a simple way with this miniseries, and if you don't know the story, Correct. If you don't know the story, basically it's a simple tale of somebody else thought or had really created a portion of the song or the song itself and trying to sue. One person makes it big, the other person's high and dry, and the other person's jealous and mad. Blah blah. This played so simply that you totally got it. You understood it. They didn't go into big long-term detail, and by the time that he was pulling a gun on him when he was sick, you knew exactly what was going on. So I thought they did a really good job of such a, it's a longer story in the book. It played so simply. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
And even with his mother, like you were saying,
the screenwriters of this are really good.
With Larry's mother.
Yep. Yeah, the screenwriters are doing a really good job with this. Even though you have the time jumps, even in the time jumps, the stories that they're conveying each individual character story is being conveyed. Yeah.
A lot. They're doing a lot.
Definitely a good job.
But it, like you said, it's smart compression. Because we have to remember, you guys have to remember, this is based on Stephen King's novel, his Opus Dei, if you will, which is 1,000+ pages long with the uncut version.
Yeah. A little visualization. There it is.
There you go.
And all his glory.
That's one of those books
it's
if you
about
have the hardcover and you drop it on your foot, you're breaking some toes.
Yeah, it's a phone book. It is Stephen King's longest novel by far.
Yes. Okay, so then what I was saying, we see Larry in the park, out just in one of we know he's in New York, and so he's outside of New York City, but like in the city still in one of like the big parks. We're not sure which one, but one of the big parks opening areas, and he's laying on a park bench. And you hear lots of gunshots him up, and you hear somebody screaming about the monsters. The monsters are coming. They're coming from the suburbs. The monsters are coming. And my favorite part was the guy who walks up on him in the hospital gown. Eating chips.
Yeah, he's great.
And we see him from behind too, and we see he's butt naked. He's got a hospital gown on, and he tells him, "Oh, would you escape Bellevue?" He says, "No, I just had a stent put in, and this happened during a procedure."
Elizabeth's gown.
And he lifts up, it flashes him. And he's like, whoa, man, don't you want to put some clothes on or something? And he tells him, he's like, why? We can do whatever we want now. And he told him, he said, he said, I'm going to Yankee Stadium.
Go to Dodger
and he
Stadium.
said, what to do? He said, I'm going to live out a lifelong dream. And he said, what? Do the, throw out the first pitch.
He's going to run the bases.
Oh, no. He said, I'm going to run the bases butt naked. And then I'm going to jerk off on home plate. And then just a little side note. Later, Rita refers to him as the Yankee wanker.
The Yankee wanker.
Yankee yanker. The Yankee yanker.
Yankee. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I love these little bits of comedy that are being added in and sprinkled in with all the seriousness, especially because of the real world implications going on right now. It's nice to kind of be like, oh, well, maybe that wouldn't happen. Oh, but I could see that happening. You know what I mean? So anyway, we meet
the really frightening part of
Rita in the park.
Well, wait. The really frightening part of seeing the city, like especially New York City, is just seeing the level of not underground, now above ground, the kind of in-your-face crime that's going on. People are, because there is no boundaries, there is no law. They're like they're becoming their own law, and you hearing the gunshots in the background and the fear of people.
When after he meets Rita and they end up basically like quickly falling for each other, you can tell, and that's why I love the chemistry between these actors. They were great in these roles. And we see, he says, we got to leave the city. We can't stay here. They get ready to leave, and they're walking down a busy city street that's, cluttered with cars and people dead in these cars and all kinds of stuff. And this guy runs up to him and he's like, hey. And he has a suit on and he has this briefcase. And he says, I'll give you $1 million right now. And he's like, what? He's like, no, I'm serious. And he unzips it and all this money falls out. And he's like, give me 15 minutes with the girl and I'll give you $1 million. He's like, you're fucking crazy. And he pulls his gun out. He's like, get out of here.
Uh-huh.
And then his lackeys come up from behind him, and the one is wearing a leather jacket, but the other one was in a suit too. And like you said, it was like this underground crime now coming above ground, and
Mm-hmm.
it gave me these vibes of like, these guys obviously are criminals, but for them to be reacting the way they are this quickly in this pandemic, which we don't know exactly how much time, but it was rather quickly because it wasn't at the 5-month mark. It was interesting because it tells you how quickly things will turn and change. The people shooting off guns in in the air and stuff, and just shooting each other, where you keep hearing continuous bullets, that like it just so quickly escalated. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, look at what happened to us during Corona and during Black Lives Matter. There was an edge of that right on the streets that we could have seen in this country.
Yeah, there really was, and we did in some places. My hometown being one of those places.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary. It was very scary. It was super scary.
So then, I guess instead of jumping back and forth, let's just continue with Larry's backstory of his character.
Yeah.
I think that'll be less confusing. So Larry and Nadine get away. They go into the sewers, as that guy was mentioning a minute ago, and she just can't do it, which I don't blame her. The rats and everything start climbing on her, crawling on her. She can't do it. She starts to have a panic attack, which I think any normal being probably would. And she says, I can't do this. I'm going back up. He says, I'm not going with you. I'm not doing it. He said, I'm not going up there to die. I didn't come this far to live, to go up there and be killed. He said, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And he gave her the gun, and she went. And, he goes through and he starts to have visions and sees things and sees his mother down there and the rats and everything else. And he starts to hallucinate, which we will find out where that's coming from. But it also probably was partly being in that sewer up to his neck, that filth and everything else, and getting sick and toxic at that point. But he finally makes it out. But when he makes it out, he's still hallucinating and freaking out. And someone reaches out their hand, and we see it's her. It's Rita. She's made it back, across this bridge and everything. They made it to the bridge or whatever. And he finally, kind of snaps out of it. And she's like, look, you did it. I know it's hard, but you did it. You made it. Look what you did. And it kind of brings him out of it a little bit. And it was interesting to see this tough guy who was like, no, I'm going. Suddenly he succumbed to it just like she did, obviously under different circumstances, but it was similar at the same time. So then they make it under a bridge. They camp out under the bridge for the night. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go get some rest. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. And she says, yeah, I'm gonna come to bed in just a little bit. And I knew something was up. I mean, if you know the story, but I knew something was up, right? That was going to happen like very quickly when she got him out of the sewer. And she said to him when he was like, oh, I lost my phone. Cause she's like, I went north, like you told me. And he's like, well, I lost my phone. I didn't know which way I was going or whatnot. And she says, yeah, but you still have your drugs. And she said it with like such a happy, Here, can you continue from where I'm leaving off right now? Give me a second.
Yeah, right here. So I was reading a comment. So basically, I think she's talking about the end of the Larry story. Anyway, that kind of ends their story when they come from the sewer. They find themselves together, and I don't really know where she was going with that comment, but we'll jump on to
Wrong thing. We had technical difficulties. My
What
phone.
happened?
My phone started to reset. My phone reset from the update. Right when I started talking, it started to reset, and I was dumped from the feed. I couldn't go back on because you were running it. But here I am. I'm here.
Okay. Well, you're
We're back
back.
now.
I'm back. Sorry. My kids had to say goodnight before they went to sleep because they had to tell me that Santa's coming.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
still on my
sorry.
phone now. Yeah, we updated my phone because it was a better camera for StreamYard, and once it updated, it wanted to reset.
Okay, so we got to wrap this. Where are we at?
We're right
Where were you at?
I was just barely starting to speak when my phone went, so I was right where you were at.
Oh no.
Right
Okay,
when
so
it was
Tammy,
right when it
we're so
happened.
sorry.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. I wish we could just go in and stop it and edit this. Okay. So we where did I leave off?
Them with
Rita and
Larry
Larry
and
under the bridge. Okay.
mhm.
So we see Rita go off by herself, and she's got the bottle of wine they've been drinking, and we know they're taking pills, they're popping pills and snorting coke or whatever, because we know he's this bag of drugs and everything. So we see her take a pill, and she's standing there just kind of like staring off into the woods, into the distance, and we see the rain coming down. It's a very somber moment, and she we hear it. They don't necessarily exactly show it, which I liked, but we see then her back, and we hear her taking out. And if you have captions on, which I recommend doing when you watch this, because you'll catch a lot of extra stuff.
I watch everything with captions on now.
Yeah, me too. But then it says pills shaking or rattling or something like that. So she's taking more pills out. And what it is we know what's about to happen. We know what she did, is doing. Basically she's about to overdose on medication. She just can't handle this. Plus, we don't know yet, because we know too that Larry mentions later to Harold that he'll tell him the story someday. So we don't know necessarily what happened to her after she got out of the sewer without Larry, before she met him back again on the other side. So we don't know if she ran into those men again, or if something else happened or what. So
not yet.
Right.
They were scary though.
Yeah.
Could I say, because we haven't talked about the prison yet?
But God, yes.
This episode, and then as we go into the prison, is even more of it. Was really gory. Was exceptionally gory. Because especially with the guy, we're talking about the prison with those scenes, I was really, really surprised at how shocking and in your face a lot of the effects were in this episode.
Tammy said, "Welcome back to both of us," and she said, "Do not apologize." So thank you, Tammy. We love you. And she said, "Captions are funny on The Walking Dead." She said, "Zombies munching." LOL. Yeah, I totally agree with you, because they'll put that stuff in even though you hear it. It's hilarious. Walkers munching. You're right. That's what it says, not zombies munching. Walkers munching. Okay, so then like you said, so that's kind of where we leave off. We leave off with Larry and Rita, although we get a little bit more with Larry meeting Harold, but otherwise not a whole lot more. But then we jump.
We get the one scene with him. We get the one scene with him meeting Harold right at the end.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. So we'll jump back to that after we talk about the prison. You want to talk about that?
Well, we also got one last thing for Larry before he meets in the timeline. We did get a scene with him, like you mentioned before, with Stu. And that's when he went to go meet Mother Abigail. And what's interesting about this scene is when he's basically having an orientation into the camp with where Abigail is, his first meeting, and that's when we find out that he was chosen, and one of the chosen one. And right after that scene, when you find out she's getting ready to talk to him, that he was the chosen one, it flashes to a scene, I believe, with Flagg in him, or evil in him, with a real dark
Yeah,
sinister dream,
it's like he's having
and
this
him waking up.
vision
So
of Flag in the desert,
he's having
the
both.
Las Vegas sign.
Yeah, correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you immediately got the sense that, wait a minute, he was chosen by Abigail, even though you don't know Abigail's story yet. But this is the good guy team, right? What's going on? And then now he's got
Right,
like really
because like you said, we
dark dreams
see
as well.
Flag, and we see him being scared and chased by
Mhm.
rats again, which we then later find out why about the rats. But then, but then you see Mother Abigail at the end of that vision. So you're right. It's kind of like, wait, is this good guys, bad guys? What's happening here?
Yep. Mhm. It was really interesting. But yeah, so what's his name? The guy's person. Why am I drawing a blank?
Lloyd.
Yeah. He
And Tammy says
Lloyd
she has
we're brought into Lloyd's story
feelings on the new one.
about the new Lloyd. Oh, super
Yeah.
mixed feelings. Yeah, so I don't know. I like him. I like him. He's real creepy. He's
I like him
real
too.
greasy.
I did too.
He's gross. Hmm. But we see the breakdown of his story, which is basically, I don't know what time jumps were in what order, but basically Lloyd was wrapped up with another guy that went into a convenience store at gunpoint and was trying to. He had was two people there. There's a woman there and a guy there. And him and his friend had these two people at gunpoint, and the friend ended up sneezing because it was right at the start of the flu, or start of the whole epidemic. And he sneezes and fires and shoots the one, the girl, guy, the girl first.
And
Shoots
let's
the
just
girl
talk about how
first.
graphic that was for, especially for
Oh
that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gory. It was so gory.
Especially for the
Yeah,
poor clerk.
Yeah, shoots the clerk, and then his friend is telling him, Lloyd, to shoot the other guy, and Lloyd won't do it. Lloyd's freaking out.
Shot the woman in front of the clerk.
Yeah, shut the woman. Yeah, correct. Shut the woman first, and then his friend is telling Lloyd to shoot the clerk, the guy.
Yeah, he's telling him
he won't do it. He's
saw
freaked out.
their
Cops
face.
come in. There's
Well,
gunfire. The friend is shot.
Mention though, because when they come in, they talk about how they're outlaws and all this, and
Yeah, they're really badass.
We're real desperados, and they tell them their real names, and they say, yeah, we've been killing cops from here to there, or whatever, like their trail of blood. And then we find out after he accidentally shoots this woman when he sneezes, looking at Lloyd, like his face is like, oh, like he's terrified and like
oh my god, wait, yeah.
Well, yeah, so you can tell right there
it's like
up, and then they talk about how it didn't really happen, and Lloyd mentions in the cell that he was framed to his new cellmate.
Yes,
and then we see the other cop.
So we see that guy. Correct. Yeah, the other cop comes in, shoots the friend, and anyway, he ends up in prison. In prison, is where he experiences the full blown the epidemic.
Say that he didn't shoot anybody, but he ends up in prison as a cop killer.
Yes. And so they look at him as a cop killer. The guards and stuff. We do see one really graphic, gory scene with him, with the cop coming in after the epidemic has really just ravaged the prison. There are few people left alive. One of them being a cop escorting another sick prisoner out of there. And he's like, help me, wait, I'm locked up in here. This guy's sick. This guy's dying. Yeah, whatever. And the cop's like, started to talk to him, and the cop slings shit at him. And it's like really graphic, really gross.
Yeah,
we find out everybody dies in the prison except for him.
Prisoner's bulging neck, and like just flings it at him into his face, his mouth, everything.
Yeah,
and he tells him you have water.
Toilet water. Yeah, it makes him drink out. And he goes and washes his face in the toilet, and that was his breaking point. That was just like, oh my god, I got shit all over me. I got it's very, very Polk type. He's got shit all over me, and he's got toilet water, and it's gross.
He doesn't know he's immune to this. He just thinks he hasn't caught it. And this is when this guy throws it. He immediately wants it off of him, away from him.
Yeah, he's just broke. Everything is just breaking him. I mean, he's in that screaming frustration level, and it jumps to the point where he's about the
Yeah, he's about the only one left in the prison. Um, aside from some other guy yelling in mother, 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 but then he eventually
Hello,
we don't hear that
hello. Am I
guy.
there? Hello, am I back?
Okay,
Am I back?
wait, I
Am I
hear
back?
you. I hear you.
There you go. I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. So he when it's at the end, he eats the leg of his cellmate because he's starving. Because we asked the question when we're sitting there watching it when he was originally in prison. Oh my God, what would it be like to die in prison, to be locked in a cell? I'm like, you'll starve.
Yeah.
Sure enough, the miniseries shows the guy's starving and that's when Flag comes in. This
And we
is one
actually,
of our
let me
first real
mention,
good Skarsgård.
because Tammy's here, I'll mention
Huh?
it for her. Um, that's very much what you see in The Walking Dead as well when they take over the prison in The Walking Dead. I believe it's season 2, 3. Oh God, I've watched every season, but I don't remember exactly which one the prison was. I'm sure Tammy does. 3, my husband says 3. So anyway, so then but yeah, that happened there too, where they actually showed realistically what it would be like.
Yeah.
People were locked up in there, and then they started rioting, and when the prisoners rioted, they ate everything they could find, and then they had no food.
Yeah, and this guy was locked
But
in his cell with no
he's
food,
still locked up
and
in
he's
there.
trying to kill a rat to eat it.
Fascinating.
And through his hallucinations, through his hunger, through his frustration, through his fear, or whatever, Flag comes, and Flag's coming to get him out. And so obviously, well, we
It's
who
almost
know
like
Flag
he's called.
know that Flag's recruiting him. Yeah, but you watching the show for the first time, you don't know if this is a hallucination. This is what, because when Flag was in the back of the car, in the first episode during Patient Zero, it was really hard to make out Skarsgård like really well. This is our first look at Skarsgård as Flag. Oh man, he's amazing, absolutely amazing. And
He's making picture.
basically, Flag
definitely
tells Lloyd. Flag tells Lloyd if he's going to get him out of there, he's there for a reason, and he's going to make Floyd his right hand man.
Yep.
You're my first up. You're my first in line. And so now we know that Lloyd is really important to
But he tells him he has to be loyal,
down.
do what he's told, and not fall asleep on duties and
Yep,
things
yep.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Typical right hand man.
And so that's where that's where we leave that. And
2 is the farm.
two is the farm. Yeah.
She said it. Yeah. It's 3 is the prison.
And then after the only other scene I think we got this episode was we got another Amber Heard scene with the sign language, with little Joey. She's with Franny, in the camp post after they make camp in Boulder with Abigail, I believe. And that society is established. They're in a neighborhood. They're taking over the houses. They're doing everything. And we know that Nadine ends up there, and Franny is there. Franny is already pregnant, and they start having a conversation. And Franny tells her, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with him. Maybe have you tried sign language? Maybe he can talk in sign.
And she told her what
another alternative communication.
What I caught, because
My
the first
brother.
thing, like I heard as soon as I saw him, it was the first thing I thought. But being a parent, she looked at her and she said, "Well, have you tried signing with him?" She said, "Sometimes children on the spectrum, understand sign language." And it was like she got it right away. And she said, "My brother was deaf," which is completely different than being on the spectrum is autism. So it was, that's too.
But that's why she knew sign language.
Franny knows a thing or two.
But that's why she knew sign language. Yeah, she already knows sign language because her brother's deaf.
New that they added in, which I really appreciated, because I feel like it's one of those things where autism doesn't get talked about that much in mainstream television. I mean, it's starting to, which is great. So I really like that they added even just those little couple of words in there made a big difference for people and for this character.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he wouldn't have talked about it in
We
70s.
forgot to mention at the beginning, when we first are introduced to Amber Heard as Nadine, we see her with the stone.
Oh yeah, the stone. Shoot. The stones were introduced this episode because he gave Lloyd one. Right? Yeah, he gave Lloyd a stone too. So that's going to be important as well.
The key, he had the stone, and the stone turned into the key, and then he handed it to Lloyd.
Yeah. Yep. Follow the Stephen King Infinity Stones. Alex is such
He
a
said,
quiet flag.
Tammy,
Tammy
yeah,
was
said,
a little loud.
Tammy
Yeah,
was
he was.
right. But
I
you know what? It was
love
oh,
Skarsgård.
the mullet doing the talking.
Yeah. Oh God, his Skarsgård is. I like him better. I think so
I do
far his
too.
flag is really
Met him.
sinister, really great.
Yeah. And then we get Larry meeting Harold, which is pretty much the wrap up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is when he
at
meets.
the very end, the very last scene was.
He tells me he followed his signs all the way there.
Yep.
And then he asks if Franny's there, and we see like his face just drop. And he says Franny doesn't live here. And he's like, "Oh, I just thought I'm sorry." And we just know, like, right then you're just making him mad. You're stirring the pot and you didn't even know it. But yeah, that's like
but by him asking, is Franny there? That opened up a whole new can of worms. So, oh my God, what's happening with the Franny Harold story?
I want to know what was in the bag.
It compels onto the last episode. Yeah,
I want to know what
we'll
Larry gave him as his gift that was in the bag that made Harold so happy and giddy.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We will.
It's good. Okay. So impressions. I love this episode outside of Amber Heard simply for the fact that it was paced really well and the backstories were told quickly and efficiently. So I really appreciate the screenwriting in the show so far. I'm still on board 100%. There hasn't really been anything that's been like, I don't know. I mean, I'm in. I'm invested. I think they're doing a really good job.
I agree with you. Even Amber Heard, her portrayal, it was still, like I said, I already didn't like Nadine knowing the story, but just some of her mannerisms, her facial expressions from the first scene we meet her, and then throughout this the episode, just made me feel like I don't like you. Definitely don't like you. So I knew that was going to happen. I expected that, but I agree with you 100% on everything else with the writing, the way they've been telling the stories. I'm not even mad at the time jumps because of the way they are explaining the characters, and they're spending more time so that I know it's kind of confusing if you know the other story, but I think people who don't know the story at all coming in, I think it makes sense because we've seen this a lot more in film
it does.
and television in the last decade,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what would you give it for your score out of 10?
I actually like this episode better, and I don't know what I gave the last one, but I'll say this one. If I gave the last one higher than I was, did I? God,
yeah.
This is not a 10. I'm not going to give it 10 yet, so I'll say this is 9.6. If the other one was a 9.5, I
okay.
The other one was fun. It was a great introduction, and I really like the Stu and Franny stories particularly. But this one I just thought was written really well. This one the screenwriters really shined. So I like this episode better.
And you said, wait, I missed it. I didn't catch Tammy at first. She said that was a neat part. Was it in the book? I can't remember. Which part? Tell me again.
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read the book.
And if Wanda were here, she'd tell you like that. So she's probably screaming at
tell you the heartbeat. So probably. You wanted to call my phone if you're watching.
A lot better than the first episode for her. She thought.
I thought this was a better episode by far. It's gory. It was exciting. It was paced well.
I'm just gonna, I gave a 9 for the previous episode. I believe it was a 9 I gave because I didn't want to give it that 9.5 and not have room to grow. So I'm gonna go with the 9.5 on this one. I did enjoy it much more than the first one.
Yeah,
I was hoping to continue the pace because if it starts to slow down too much, it's gonna lose me.
Yep. Yeah, it can't slow down. The pacing's perfect. If it slows down, there'll be
Harold part. Was that in the book?
It has to be. I'll have to. Dewanda, let us know in the message, or if you're on there, call me.
Wanted to get back
I
to
don't
Tammy.
know.
She needs
It's
to
been
know.
since the 80s. I haven't read The Stand since the 80s. Since the unabridged came out the first time.
Yeah, and I haven't
was when
watched the
I read The Stand last.
out in the 90s. So I mean, but we've refreshed here and there on
Well, I know
different
it's not
things.
in the miniseries. Yeah, it's not in the original miniseries. There's a lot of this. This is told very differently than the original miniseries.
Yeah, and they're trying to stay
but-
more to the book
yeah.
on this one. So it's going to be interesting the details and the Easter
Yeah.
eggs we'll get.
Yeah, for sure.
Ah, there she
hi
is.
guys, who's that? Is it? This has got to be Dewanda. This is Dewanda. Dewanda,
I'm not
was the
typing
Herald
for
meeting
her.
Larry seen in the book? Was it in the book? Tammy
Yeah,
wants
Larry
to know.
meeting
Oh,
Harold
hold on, I
was
need to get
that
wrapping
in the
paper.
book.
Wrapping paper.
Tammy needs to know.
Is it in the book?
And Tammy said she doesn't remember, but it wasn't in the 94 series. So, but yeah, so while we wait for her to get back to us on that and let us know, I will tell you guys, remember to be here on
Wrapping paper.
Thursdays at 9:30 Central. You figure out your time zone, and we will have our stand coverage for you guys for the episode for that week. This is episode 2, Pocket Savior, right? Is that right? Yeah.
Huh? Wait, hold on.
Oh, and she says yes. She said yes, it was in the book. So Larry meeting Harold was in the book, which I figured it was because, like we said, they're staying a lot more true to the book material, which is interesting. So
Who is that?
yeah, Dewanda.
Oh, right. What's up, Donnie? Merry
And
Christmas.
just so everybody knows, Dewanda's not here on camera with us because she is with her family for the holiday. Merry Christmas, all.
She is in the comments.
She is here. And Tammy says
Well,
she knows more
now
on
we
the
got
94 series of it than she does the book, though. So, okay, so
yeah,
our
me too.
our Christmas sweater, I'm going to show you guys. I didn't forget. But first, I want to say that has been our coverage because we're running late. That has been our coverage of episode 2, Pocket Savior of The Stand, CBS All Access, Stephen King's The Stand 2020. And we will be back Thursday. We will be here tomorrow for you guys for a special Christmas show. So join us later in the evening for a special.
So Dewanda, be sure to join us in the comments at least, or on my phone at least, when we do our Christmas show.
Yes.
But call me. I'll be here.
Call me.
Oh, and Justice for Johnny. Justice for Johnny. Justice for Johnny. Don't forget.
I've been Irish
tweet it,
Kelly.
send it out.
He has been that guy in the comments below. This way. She's been Dewanda, and we are Late Night Snacks. We love you. We love you for being here. Remember, be kind to yourself and be kind to someone else.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays,
happy holidays.
Right.
Bye, guys. We love you.
Happy holidays, everybody. Bye.
I'm going to show these real quick. There we go. All right. Bye, guys. And we're out.